Ever since the diagnosis, the world seemed to shrink into a series of sterile rooms and hushed conversations. Cancer, they said, a word that echoed endlessly in my mind. But amid the turmoil of treatments and tests, it was Emily, my wife, who stood as my beacon of hope. Or so I believed. I remember the day it all began to unravel. The hospital room, bathed in the cold light of dawn, felt more like a sanctuary, a place where my fight against the unseen enemy within me felt almost noble. Emily sat beside me, her smile forced, her eyes distant. I tried to reach out, to understand, but each attempt felt like grasping at shadows. "Is everything okay, Em?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I feared the answer before she even spoke. She turned her gaze away, a silent storm brewing behind her eyes. "It's just hard to see you like this," she murmured. But there was something more, a hidden depth to her words that I couldn't fathom. As the days passed, Emily's visits grew shorter, her excuses more frequent. "Work is hectic," she'd say, or, "I'm just not feeling well." I wanted to believe her, to trust in the love that had once seemed unshakable. But the gnawing doubt, fed by her absences and evasive glances, grew into an insidious beast, consuming my already waning strength. Then came the evening that shattered my world. I was alone, as I had grown accustomed to, staring at the ceiling, trying to find patterns in its sterile expanse. The door creaked open, and in walked Emily, her face a canvas of guilt and sorrow. "John, we need to talk," she began, her voice trembling. The words that followed felt like a physical blow, each syllable a hammer strike against the fragile structure of our life together. "I've been seeing someone else," she confessed, the words spilling out in a torrent of tears and regret. My heart, already burdened by disease, now bore the weight of betrayal. The room spun around me, and in that moment, I felt more lost and alone than I had ever felt in the sterile confines of my hospital bed. How could she, I wondered, when I was fighting for my life? But as the initial shock faded, replaced by a deep, aching sorrow, I realized that Emily, too, was fighting a battle I hadn't seen. It was a battle of loneliness, fear, and the overwhelming weight of watching the person you love fade away before your eyes. In the depths of my despair, I faced a choice. To let this betrayal consume the remaining flickers of my life, or to try and understand, to forgive. It was a choice that would define the path of my healing, not just from the cancer that ravaged my body, but from the wounds of a broken heart. In the days that followed Emily's confession, I found myself adrift in a sea of conflicting emotions. The sterile walls of my hospital room, once a haven, now felt like a prison. The incessant beeps of the machines monitoring my vitals seemed to mock my pain, a constant reminder of the frailty of both body and heart. I tried to make sense of it all, to find some semblance of understanding in the chaos that my life had become. Emily's words echoed in my mind, a litany of apologies and explanations. She spoke of loneliness, of the crushing weight of my illness on her shoulders, of seeking solace in the arms of another. But all I could hear was the shattering of the trust that had been the foundation of our marriage. I grappled with the burning question: why? Why, when I was fighting for every breath, did she turn away? I remembered our vows, spoken with such conviction years ago, now tainted by the harsh reality of her betrayal. In sickness and in health, we had promised, but those words seemed hollow now. As the days turned into weeks, I began to withdraw into myself, building walls around my heart to protect it from further pain. My interactions with the medical staff became mechanical, my responses automatic. I lost interest in the progress of my treatment, the once encouraging news of my improving condition now falling on deaf ears. The visits from Emily became a torture of their own. She tried to reach out, her eyes brimming with tears, her hands trembling as they reached for mine. But I couldn't bring myself to accept her touch, to bridge the gulf that her actions had created. Each visit left me more drained, more hollow than the last. In those long, sleepless nights, I found myself reflecting on our life together. I remembered the good times, the laughter and love that had once defined us. And in those memories, I saw glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, not the stranger she had become. It was a bitter realization, knowing that the person who had been my partner, my confidant, was now the source of my deepest pain. The battle with cancer, which had once seemed like the greatest challenge of my life, now paled in comparison to the turmoil in my heart. I was winning the fight against the disease, but losing myself in the process. The irony of it all was not lost on me as my body grew stronger, my spirit waned. In the midst of this turmoil, a new resolve began to take shape within me. I realized that I couldn't let this betrayal define me, couldn't let it be the end of my story. I had fought too hard against cancer to allow my spirit to be broken by heartache. It was time to confront the pain, to face the reality of our fractured marriage, and decide what the future held for me, with or without Emily. The turning point came on a particularly cold morning, the kind where the world outside seemed frozen in time. I was sitting in my hospital room, staring out the window at the barren trees, their branches like the gnarled fingers of old hands. It was on this morning that I decided it was time to seek answers, to confront the pain that had become my constant companion. Emily came in, her steps hesitant, as if she was walking on a path strewn with glass. Her eyes were red, a testament to sleepless nights and silent tears. For the first time since her confession, I found the strength to look into those eyes, to really see her. "Tell me everything," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "I need to understand, Emily." And she did. She spoke of her fear and loneliness, of feeling abandoned even as she knew I was fighting for my life. She talked about Mark, the man she had turned to, how their relationship had started as a friendship and then spiraled into something more. It wasn't an excuse, she said, but a desperate attempt to find some semblance of normalcy in a life turned upside down. As I listened, a torrent of emotions washed over me. Anger, betrayal, sadness, they all merged into a whirlpool of confusion. But amidst all this, there was also a flicker of understanding. I began to see the situation not just through my own lens of pain, but through Emily's eyes as well. The realization hit me hard. We were both victims of my illness in different ways. While I battled cancer in the hospital, Emily fought a silent, lonely war outside. It didn't excuse her actions, but it shed light on the complexities of human emotions, on how easy it is to lose oneself in the face of overwhelming adversity. This understanding didn't bring immediate forgiveness, but it did bring a sense of clarity. The black and white view of betrayal began to give way to shades of gray. I saw Emily not just as the woman who had hurt me, but as a human being struggling to cope with a situation that neither of us were prepared for. As the days went by, our conversations grew longer, deeper. We began to unravel the tangled web of emotions and misunderstandings that had led us to this point. It was painful, often heart-wrenching, but necessary. We were like two survivors of a shipwreck, clinging to the debris of our former life, trying to find a way back to solid ground. In those moments of raw honesty, I found a part of myself that I thought I had lost, my capacity for empathy and understanding. And with it came a realization. Healing was not just about my physical recovery from cancer, but also about mending the broken pieces of my heart and our relationship. I was still far from forgiving Emily, but I was taking the first steps on a path that might lead to reconciliation, or at least closure. It was a journey fraught with uncertainty, but one that I knew I needed to undertake, for the sake of my own peace of mind. As winter melted into spring, and the hospital's sterile walls gave way to the familiar comfort of home, I found myself at a crossroads. My physical health had improved remarkably, a testament to modern medicine and my body's resilience. But emotionally, I was still navigating through a labyrinth of pain and betrayal. Emily and I had started attending couples therapy, a weekly pilgrimage into the depths of our hearts and minds. It was there, in that space of vulnerability and openness, that we laid bare the rawest parts of our souls. We talked about everything, our fears, our dreams, the moments where we felt most alone. It was during these sessions that I realized the magnitude of what we had lost, and what we might still salvage. The therapy was not a magic cure. There were days when the anger and hurt resurfaced with a vengeance, days when I questioned everything. But there were also moments of profound connection, glimpses of the love that had once been the cornerstone of our relationship. One evening, as we sat in the quiet of our living room, Emily reached for my hand. It was a simple gesture, but one that spoke volumes. For the first time in months, I didn't pull away. Instead, I let our fingers entwine, a tentative bridge over the chasm that had formed between us. "John, I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I know I can't undo the hurt, but I want to be here for you, for as long as you'll let me." Her words echoed in the silence, a fragile offering of hope. I looked at her, really looked, and saw not just the woman who had betrayed me, but the partner who had shared my life, my joys, and my sorrows. "I don't know what the future holds, Emily," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "But I'm willing to find out, together." In the weeks that followed, we began to rebuild, piece by painstaking piece. We rediscovered the small joys of shared meals, of long walks, of conversations that stretched into the night. We laughed together, and more importantly, we cried together, a cathartic release of all the pain and heartache we had bottled up. The journey was not easy. There were setbacks, moments of doubt and despair. But with each step forward, we grew stronger, more resilient. The shadow of the affair still lingered, a ghostly presence in the background of our lives, but it no longer defined us. As spring gave way to summer, I realized that healing was not a destination, but a journey. It was about finding strength in vulnerability, about learning to trust again, about forgiving not just Emily, but also myself. It was about understanding that while some scars never fully fade, they do not have to dictate our future. In this newfound understanding, I found a sense of peace. I was still battling cancer, still facing the uncertainty of what tomorrow might bring. But I was no longer doing it alone. Emily and I were walking this path together, our steps uncertain but our resolve firm. We were healing, slowly but surely, and in that healing, I found a glimmer of hope for a future that, just a few months ago, I couldn't have imagined. As summer's warmth bathed our home in light, I found myself reflecting on the journey Emily and I had undertaken. The path was far from smooth. riddled with the pitfalls of past hurts and the ever-present shadow of my ongoing battle with cancer. Yet, amidst this turmoil, a fragile sense of hope had begun to blossom. Our relationship, once shattered, was slowly piecing itself back together. Like a mosaic, it was becoming something new, different from what it once was, but beautiful in its own right. We learned to communicate more openly, to express our fears and desires without the masks we had once worn. I recall one particular evening, sitting in our backyard under a sky painted with the hues of sunset. Emily had prepared a simple meal, and we ate in silence, the kind that spoke of comfort rather than awkwardness. As the stars began to emerge, she broke the silence. "John, do you think we can ever get back to how we were?" she asked, her voice laced with a mix of hope and uncertainty. I pondered her question, gazing at the stars that had silently witnessed our struggle. "I don't think we can, or even should, try to go back to how we were," I replied. "What we had is in the past. We need to build something new, something that acknowledges our scars and celebrates our growth." Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I'm scared, John. But I'm also hopeful." "Is that strange?" "No," I said, taking her hand in mine. "It's human. We're navigating uncharted waters, but we're doing it together. That counts for something." As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, our bond continued to strengthen. We were no longer just survivors of a storm. We were architects of our future. The affair and my illness, while parts of our story, no longer defined it. We were writing new chapters, ones filled with understanding, forgiveness, and a cautious optimism. I found myself cherishing the small moments, the shared smiles, the gentle touches, the quiet support we offered each other. These were the building blocks of our new relationship, the foundation upon which we were slowly reconstructing our life together. During this time, my health also showed signs of improvement. The cancer, once a voracious beast, had been tamed into remission. It was a victory, not just of the body, but of the spirit. Emily was there every step of the way, her strength bolstering my own. As autumn approached, painting the leaves in fiery hues, I realized that our love, too, had changed. It was no longer the naive, untested love of our youth. It was deeper, more resilient, tempered by the fires of trial and pain. We had learned the hard way that love is not just about joy and happiness, but also about endurance and the courage to face the darkest nights together. In this newfound understanding, we found a sense of peace. The future was still uncertain, the possibility of relapse a lingering shadow. But whatever lay ahead, we knew we would face it together, stronger and more united than we had ever been. This chapter of our lives, marked by pain and healing, betrayal and forgiveness, was drawing to a close. Ahead of us lay a new chapter, unwritten and full of possibilities. And as I looked at Emily, her hand in mine, I felt ready to turn the page. The onset of autumn brought with it a tapestry of colors, each leaf a reminder of the ever-changing nature of life. Emily and I had grown accustomed to the rhythm of our new life, a delicate dance of healing and rediscovery. The shadow of my illness and her infidelity still lingered, but they no longer dominated our days. We had both changed in ways that were subtle yet profound. I, once consumed by my battle with cancer and the sting of betrayal, found a new appreciation for the present. Emily, grappling with guilt and the fear of loss, learned to embrace vulnerability and the strength it offered. Our home, once a place of tension and unspoken grievances, now resonated with a newfound peace. We had painstakingly cleared the debris of our shattered relationship, making room for honesty and acceptance. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that made all the difference. One crisp autumn evening, as we sat by the fireplace, the flames casting a warm glow on our faces, Emily spoke of her dreams, the ones she had shelved in the chaos of my illness and her affair. "I want to start painting again," she said, her eyes reflecting the fire's flicker. "I've neglected that part of me for too long." I smiled, encouraged by her desire to reclaim a part of herself that had been lost in our shared ordeal. "You should," I encouraged. "Your art was always a reflection of your beautiful soul." This conversation led to a series of changes, small but significant. Emily set up a small studio in one of the spare rooms, and I watched as she poured her emotions onto the canvas, each stroke a testament to her journey. I, too, found new purpose. My brush with mortality had instilled in me a desire to help others facing similar battles. I began volunteering at the Cancer Center, offering support and a listening ear to those walking the path I had once tread. It was cathartic, a way to make sense of my own experience. As we both embarked on these personal journeys, our relationship continued to evolve. We learned to support each other's dreams and aspirations, understanding that our individual growth was integral to the health of our marriage. The therapy sessions, once a place of painful revelations, had become a space of mutual growth. We delved into topics beyond the affair and my illness, exploring our hopes, fears, and the legacy we wanted to leave. Our love, once fragile and uncertain, had grown into something resilient and deep. We found joy in the simple pleasures, a shared meal, a walk in the park, an evening spent talking and laughing. We had learned to cherish the mundane, understanding that it was the bedrock of our relationship. As the year drew to a close, I found myself reflecting on the journey we had undertaken. From the depths of despair and betrayal, we had emerged stronger, more aware of our flaws and the strength that lay in acknowledging them. The future was still uncertain, but it no longer filled me with fear. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we would face them together, not as the same people who had entered this storm, but as individuals who had been transformed by it. Our story was one of pain and healing, of breaking and mending, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is hope for renewal. As I looked forward to the coming year, I felt a sense of gratitude for the journey and a quiet optimism for the chapters yet to be written. As winter enveloped our world in a blanket of snow, it brought with it a sense of renewal. The stark landscape outside mirrored the clean slate that Emily and I had worked so hard to create. The cold, crisp air was invigorating, reminding me of the preciousness of each breath, each moment. Our relationship had entered a phase of quiet contentment, marked by a deeper understanding and acceptance of each other's flaws and strengths. The pain of the past, while not forgotten, had begun to recede, making way for a future filled with possibilities. Emily's art had flourished, her canvases vibrant expressions of her inner journey. I often found myself mesmerized by her work, seeing in it a reflection of her soul's resilience. Her studio had become a sanctuary for her, a place where she could channel her emotions into something tangible and beautiful. For me, the volunteer work had become a source of profound fulfillment. Sharing my experience with others who were battling cancer provided a sense of purpose that I hadn't realized I was missing. It was during one of these sessions that I met Alex, a fellow cancer survivor whose zest for life was infectious. Alex and I quickly became friends, bonding over our shared experiences and outlook on life. He introduced me to a local support group, a community of survivors and fighters who had faced their own battles with cancer. This group became a second family to me, a network of support and encouragement that was invaluable. The holiday season approached, a time that had once been fraught with tension and unspoken grievances. But this year felt different. Emily and I decorated our home together, laughing and reminiscing about past holidays. The act of hanging ornaments on the tree, once a mundane task, now felt symbolic, each decoration a marker of our journey, our resilience. We hosted a small gathering for our friends and family, a celebration of life and the bonds that had sustained us through the toughest of times. I looked around at the faces illuminated by the soft glow of holiday lights, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Emily, noticing my reflective mood, squeezed my hand gently. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, her eyes sparkling in the festive light. "Just how far we've come," I replied, smiling. "And how lucky I am to have you by my side." The evening was filled with warmth and laughter, a testament to the healing power of love and friendship. As the guests departed, leaving us in the quiet of our home, I felt a profound sense of peace. The journey Emily and I had embarked upon had not been easy. It had tested us in ways we never imagined. But as we stood there, amidst the remnants of the celebration, I realized that we had emerged stronger, more connected than ever before. As the year came to a close, I looked back on the challenges we had faced, the pain we had endured, and the growth we had experienced. It was a testament to the human spirit's ability to adapt, to heal, and to find joy even in the darkest of times. Our story was still being written, each day a new page in a book filled with love, struggle, and triumph. And as I looked forward to the coming year, I did so with a heart full of hope, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that together, Emily and I could face anything. As the first buds of spring began to appear, signaling the end of another harsh winter, Emily and I welcomed this season of new beginnings with open hearts. The world around us was awakening, and so were we, to the possibilities that lay ahead. The harsh trials of the past had not only tested our resolve but had also sown the seeds of a deeper, more enduring bond between us. Our home, once a silent witness to our struggles, now resonated with the sounds of life and laughter. Emily's art had gained recognition, her exhibitions attracting a modest but appreciative audience. The vibrancy of her paintings reflected her inner transformation, a vivid tapestry of pain, hope, and rejuvenation. My own journey had taken an unexpected turn. Inspired by my experiences and the stories of those I met at the support group, I began writing. What started as a personal diary evolved into a blog, a narrative of my battle with cancer and the lessons learned along the way. To my surprise, it found an audience. People from all walks of life reached out, sharing their own stories, finding solace in the words I had penned. This unexpected foray into writing was therapeutic. It allowed me to process my experiences, to give voice to the myriad emotions that had once threatened to overwhelm me. Through this medium, I connected with others, creating a community bound by shared experiences and mutual understanding. Emily and I also embarked on a project together, a series of workshops for couples facing similar challenges. We shared our story, not as a blueprint for others to follow, but as a testament to the power of communication, empathy, and resilience. It was our way of giving back, of turning our pain into a beacon of hope for others. As the days grew longer and the air warmer, we planned a trip, a journey we had postponed for far too long. It was not just a vacation, but a pilgrimage of sorts, a celebration of life and the love that had endured through our darkest days. The destination was a small coastal town, a place where the sea met the sky in a dance of endless blue. There, amidst the sound of the waves and the serenity of the horizon, we found a sense of freedom. We walked along the beach, hand in hand, our hearts light, unburdened by the shadows of the past. One evening, as we watched the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Emily turned to me, her eyes alight with a quiet joy. "Do you remember when we first met?" she asked, a nostalgic smile playing on her lips. "I do," I replied, the memory vivid in my mind. "We were both so young, so full of dreams." "We've come a long way since then," she said, her voice soft. "We've weathered storms I never thought we could survive." I nodded, my heart full. "We have. And yet, here we are, stronger for it." As the last light of the day faded, giving way to a blanket of stars, I realized that this trip was more than just a getaway. It was a symbol of our journey, a testament to our ability to rebuild, to find beauty in the broken places. Our story, once marked by pain and betrayal, had become one of healing and growth. We had learned that love, in its truest form, is not just about the joyous moments, but also about the courage to face the trials together, to emerge not unscathed, but stronger. As we returned home, refreshed and renewed, I looked forward to the future with a sense of optimism. The road ahead was still uncertain, but one thing was clear. Whatever challenges we might face, we would face them together, with love as